Hi, and welcome back to the workshop for episode 7 of the Telecaster refurb project, and this time we're going to be getting the body and the neck polished up. However, this time I'm going to be using a new sanding medium in the hope that I don't have to wet flat this body and I don't have to do any machine polishing either. So stay tuned to see what I'm using and how well it goes. Okay, so this body's now been sat for about probably 3 weeks now. Hopefully the lacquer is good and hard and we can now get it cleaned up and polished. However, in this instance it's not quite as straightforward as that. Now this guitar was built 11 years ago, and even though I'm refurbishing it, I don't want it to look absolutely brand spanking new. So I'm not going to do my normal kind of super high gloss finish on this one. I want it to look like a guitar that's got a bit of age on it. And that gives me an opportunity to perhaps use some new techniques, some new materials and stuff. On the back of that, I'm going to be trying a new abrasive. And this is an abrasive that I've picked up from Dave over at Ewar Guitars. Really good channel, you should check that out if you haven't yet. The stuff he used is this, it's called Super Assilex. Super Assilex. I'll put a link to this little pack that I bought off Amazon in the description just to save you googling it, because you could get all sorts of stuff come up if you do that. And the main reason I want to use this, you can actually use it dry, so it means that you're not introducing a lot of moisture to the body as I normally would do. And apparently it lasts a really long time. It's not cheap. This little pack, which has got kind of 2 sheets of 600, 2 sheets of 800 and 2 sheets of 1200, I believe, was 30 something pounds. So it is quite expensive to use, but I'm thinking if it lasts a long time and it does a good job, it's money well spent. So what I aim to do is I'm going to kind of first rub this down with the 600 so we can get rid of any orange peel, or in this case it's mainly kind of grain pattern. Then we'll go with 800, 1200 with the Super Assilex, and then I'm going to go to a 3000 Trizact pad, possibly a 6000 Trizact pad, and I'm going to try and get it to a sheen with just those products without actually using any polishing compounds on it. If it's not what I want it to be at that stage, I will then put some swirl remover or something on just to give it that last little bit of a polish. Okay, so in the pack you get one of these little soft sanding blocks and various sheets of this abrasive. So I'm just going to start on this little section here underneath the controls and see how it goes. Now to say that's a 600, that's actually cutting that back quite quickly. I'm quite impressed with that so far. Now that's almost got me down to a smooth finish. It really isn't that far off. Now, one of the things I saw Dave doing when he was using this stuff is he was just wiping it off on a bit of rag, and it was getting rid of all the dust out of the paper. And it was good to start again with, and it really is. It just doesn't clog up like you would expect normal wet and dry to do. Okay, so that is absolutely where I want it to be now. So I'm going to stop talking for a little while and I'm going to get the rest of this top down to the same stage, and then we can look at starting to work our way through the grits. The immediate impression I get with this paper is that you can just sand away with it for ages without it getting clogged up. And it's actually very easy to use in terms of it doesn't take a lot of pressure or a lot of effort to actually do the sanding. And when it does get clogged up, you just rub it off with a bit of rag, clear the dust away from your job, and you're good to go again. Okay, so I've been over most of this body now. I've done the back and the front with the 400, and to do all of that I've used 2 sheets, which is amazing. If I was doing it with wet and dry paper, I would have used a lot more than that, plus I would have had to have kept this really wet to stop the paper from clogging up. And as you can see here, hopefully you'll pick this up in the camera, it's left a really nice flat surface with almost a little bit of a sheen going on there, which is brilliant because that's kind of what I want. So now what I'm going to do is step up to some 800. Now I'm hoping, because I've put the groundwork in with the 6 and I haven't really got any imperfections as such to sand out, all I have to do is remove the scratches from the 600 and just refine this surface. Okay, so that went really quickly getting it down to the 800 grit. So now I've got a piece of the 1200 on and we'll just repeat exactly the same process. And I've literally just gone over the top with the 1200 in about 3 or 4 minutes. Very, very quick, or it seems to be. The proof of that particular pudding will be once we try and get a sheen onto this. If I haven't done enough with the 1200, it will soon become apparent. So to test that out, I'm just going to take 3000 Trizact pad and just work my way over all of the top with it. Immediately I hit it with that Trizact pad, I'm starting to get a sheen. You can probably see the reflection of the ceiling light in there. That's brilliant. And that's actually starting to come up really, really nice. So I'm going to do exactly the same now with the 6000 pad. Well, that's actually come out way better than I ever expected it would. It's got a nice sheen to it, but it's also kind of got a little bit of rippliness with the grain of the wood, and it just looks like the finish is way, way older than it actually is. So absolutely blown away with that. So I'm going to continue with this off camera later on. There's only so much you can take of me rubbing this body down, but I'll just bring the rest of it up to this standard off camera and we'll crack on with the neck. Okay, as far as the neck's concerned, I'm just going to do exactly the same process. I'm going to just do the fretboard, probably to about 600. I don't really like glossy fretboards, they just feel a bit gummy under my fingers and a bit sticky. So I'll just take the shine off and make sure that there's no unevenness on this board and leave it at that. The only exception to doing it the same way as I've just done the body is around this headstock decal, because I need to take quite a little bit of lacquer off there just to get it down to the same level to the rest of the lacquer so that I can then blend it in. So to do that, I'm going to go back to my traditional method of doing it with a little bit of warm water and some 400 wet and dry. This is one of those occasions where you need to use a rougher abrasive just to make sure you're getting it properly flat. And then you can go back with the finer abrasives just to refine that surface. The other reason I want to use wet and dry here is because this lacquer hasn't been on anywhere near as long as it has been on the body, so it is a hell of a lot softer. But already we're just about there. There's a little bit around this edge, still needs blending, and most of this area here. So we'll just keep working away at that until we've got it as we need it. And that's nearly there now, so I'm going to come off the block and just use the pad of my thumb to blend that edge in. If you're not careful with these, you can go right the way through the lacquer and into the decal. And I think that's there. So I'm just going to dry all that off, and then we'll repeat the process that we did on the body. Okay, and there we have the neck done as well. I haven't gone quite as far with the back of the neck especially. I've only gone to 3000 Trizact on there, and it's got a bit of a sheen to it, but it's also kind of nice and silky smooth, not grabby at all. The fretboard, as I say, has just been flatted off. That's to 600 grit, so that should feel nice under the fingers when you're playing it. And the headstock, there's a little bit of a sheen on there, but it's not massively ultra shiny. But I think the headstock logo looks really nice on there as well. Okay, so that's the body and the neck polished up, and I have to say I'm really pleased with the way that that's gone. The Super Assilex is an amazing product. My only problem is that I'm struggling to find a supplier in the UK where I don't have to buy kind of like large packs of it, which are actually very expensive. It's not an immediate problem. The little pack I've got will probably last me 2 or 3 guitar builds, so that's probably best part of a year's worth, but it'd be nice to get it in another format if I could. So of course, with that done, it only really leaves us one place to go in this build, and that's to start putting this thing together. But that's a job for next time, so don't forget to join me back in a couple of days time where we'll put this thing together and actually get to hear what it sounds like. I'm really intrigued as to how that Filtertron in the neck is going to sound, so make sure you don't miss out on that. So all the usual stuff, like, subscribe, and I'll look forward to seeing you soon. Thanks a lot for watching. Bye bye.